Estelle.
Okay. This must be what Rabbi's looking for. Okay.
Estelle.
Nah. No, but someone take my announcements. Okay. I'll just talk
These
about
two are mine.
come-
These two are mine.
Those are yours? Okay, not a problem. Welcome, everybody, to our traditional service for Kol Nidre. My name is Roberta Unger. I'm managing director of the facility, and I welcome you all. I'd like to start out by asking if anybody's parked across the street in front of Kohl's or CVS. If you are, please take a moment or about 5 minutes and move your car. We don't want to have it towed. They get very upset if their customers can't get in a hurry. I'd like to familiarize you with all of our exit signs. Should there be an issue, please head to an exit sign. We will let you know everything is going. Be like just like a line. I'll be a stewardess for the evening. That would be in case of emergency. In case you have a medical problem, we do have a medical room, and we do have some doctors in the house, so you'll be well taken care of. The medical room is just across the hall from our social hall, and it has a sign on it. I also would like to talk to you about the badges that we ask everybody wear, our name tags. If you don't have one and you're a member of the synagogue, please contact the office and we'll make one for you. We like to know who all the people are and like to call you by name. Make everything feel Hamish. It's such a nice feeling to walk up and greet somebody by name, not just say, "Oh, excuse me, do I know you?" So please, just contact anyone in the office. We'll be happy to get that done for you. Also, we found out that a lot of you have moved. You've got new addresses, new phone numbers. Landlines have become a thing of the past. We'd like to know what all the new numbers are and the email addresses so that we can get the information out to you in a timely manner. So please, again, call the office, let us know, send me an email, send anyone in the office an email. We can update our database and make sure we all stay in touch. For those of you who fast, I wish you an easy fast.
Thank you, Roberta. Good evening, everyone. I'm Don Ross, Temple President. And actually, tonight I had two very important giving opportunities that I wanted to talk about. But thank you to the generosity of our congregants at the early family service. We have reached our goal for Kol Nidre, so thank you all. However, if you'd like to give more, or if you haven't given, we'd certainly take it, because anything you give us will certainly help increase our operating funds. And I want to thank Shelley Berkeley, who chaired our Kol Nidre appeal this year, for her continued service to our temple. The second and item of utmost importance is the safety and security of this congregation. Based on the events that occurred over the last year, we established an ad hoc safety and security committee, as this is an issue that is very important to your board. The committee determined that additional security measures were required, and we have implemented them. However, because this was not part of our budget, I would like to ask you tonight to make additional donation specifically for our safety and security fund. You can use the Kol Nidre pledge cards that you received as you walked in, or you can raise your hand, and all the money collected will be used for safety and security only. Ner Tamid is not only a congregation. It's not just part of the Jewish community. We are a family. We laugh together, we sing together, dance together, and yes, we cry together, but we come here and pray together. Parents make their children safe and secure, and your board wants you, our CNT family, to feel safe and secure as well. So please help us by donating tonight. We will have ushers collecting these cards, so please be generous, and if you will, raise your hands if you have a card, and they'll be happy to come take them from you. Really appreciate any donation we can get tonight. Thank you, and good Yom Tov. Now we begin our service. We ask for your quiet attention to our cellist.
Kajantif, everyone. The beautiful, haunting melody of the Kol Nidre. It sets the tone for the service so beautifully. We listen to it in the present, but our minds join with Jews of centuries past. The tradition says that there were those that created this song because they had to practice their Judaism secretly And therefore the Kol Nidre said, if I made a promise, consider it void. If I promised that I was of a different faith, remember that I am truly a Jew. And from that historic event, the Kol Nidre wove it around our heart. The rabbi said, it'll be misunderstood, get rid of it. But the people said, no, it speaks to our heart of a time long ago. We make a promise, a vow that we can keep, that we are Jews. We use, once again this year, our new Machzor, and I remind you that the unique quality of this Machzor is that it has more material than we could possibly read, and therefore you are tasked with having your own spiritual journey throughout tonight and tomorrow, especially on the left-hand side or the pages that are in blue. Those are for you to let your mind wander, your eyes glance upon. And then when you are ready, catch up with the clergy or the choir. But make sure you make private time between tonight and tomorrow so that these reflections speak to your heart and remind you of the values of Judaism. On page 9 is the blessing of the candles. We'd like to call upon the Cantor's family, Elaine Enton, her sister Alana Weinberg, and the spouses of our past presidents, Debbie Levy, Sharna Blumenfeld, Juanita Wasserman, Yvonne Gordon, and Sandy Stolberg, for the honor of kindling the Yom Tov lights.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night, we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love.
moment, the Kol Nidre will be chanted. So I'd like to invite the members of our temple board to come forward and stand on either side of the art curtains. And then for the honor of holding the Torahs, we ask for Michelle Blank, our Sisterhood President, Josh Wertheimer, our Men's Club Vice President, our Temple President, Don Ross, our NITI Representative, Zoe Mayer, and Scott Stolberg and his daughter Megan, and Senator Jackie Rosen, past president, to come forward to hold the Torahs. With the congregation, please rise. We turn to page 14. Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidre, its sacred portal, a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling.
We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidre, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we fail to keep.
We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God in Torah.
We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community in this hour of shared weakness and humility.
We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding.
We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly.
We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might.
We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidre's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world.
We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life.
We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidre to face our humanity.
With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly. resolves and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation, sworn promises and oaths of dedication, that we promise and swear to God and take upon ourselves. From this day of atonement until next day of atonement, may it find us well. We regret them, and for all of them we repent. Let all of them be discarded and forgiven, abolished and undone. They are not valid and they are not binding. Our vows shall not be vows, our resolves shall not be resolves, and our oaths shall not be oaths. We continue to remain standing as we turn to page 22. Chant your supplications to God in a melody that makes the heart weep, and your praises of God in one that will make it sing. Thus you will be filled with love and joy for the one who sees the heart. Continue on page 25. Day and night are yours, creative spirit of the universe. The muted colors of twilight, the radiance of dawn. Yours are the spreading wings of light, the deepening shadows of darkness, an ever-changing drama together in the human heart
too. The struggle between darkness and light unfolds. From the sunlit heights of generosity,
the human heart sinks to the gloom and depths of selfishness. Although we fall, you give us the strength to rise again. You call on those who hurt through word or deed to break free from wrongdoing and return to you. All who hear your call to goodness are embraced. All who reject emptiness and evil find acceptance from you. We come into your presence this night of Kol Nidre, aware that our shortcomings and weaknesses are many, yet encouraged by your promise of forgiveness. We choose freely the path of repentance, restoring wholeness to our lives and holiness to the world.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Love beyond all space and time, your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
We rise for the Shema.
And we call forward our niddy board and 8th grade to lead us in the Ve'ahavta.
Listen, Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated. Our niddy board and 8th grade lead us in the Ve'ahavta. Continue on page 38. Truth and faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life, who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Together, witnesses to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the reign of heaven. Then Moses and Miriam and all Israel sang to you this song of utter joy.
Be
page 46.
Have mercy upon me, O God, as befits your faithfulness, in keeping with your abundant compassion. Blot out my transgressions, wash me thoroughly of my iniquity, and purify me of my sin. For I recognize my transgressions and am ever conscious of my sin. We continue reading pages 50 through page 70 at our own individual pace, quietly to ourselves.
We continue on page 72.
Tefilata
turn to page 82 and transition to Vidui, our confessional, and we rise.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu, tavo lefanecha tefilateinu, ve'al titalam mitchinatenu. Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotinu, tzadikim anachnu ve'lo chatanu, aval hana.
Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Please be seated.
Gazalnu
Together, of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey. We abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes. We are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray. We lead others astray. Our turning away from your mitzvot and laws of goodness is a hollow pursuit. You are just concerning all that happens in our lives. Your way is the way of truth, while ours leads to error. What can we say to you whose existence is beyond time and space? What words of ours can reach your realm beyond the clouds, beyond heaven itself? Every hidden mystery, every revelation, surely you know them all. You know the secrets of the universe and the secrets of the human heart. You know and understand us, for you examine our inner lives. Nothing is concealed from you, nothing hidden from your sight. Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, we pray that this be your will. Forgive all our wrongs. Pardon us for every act of injustice. Help us atone for all our moral failures.
שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדיבור פה.
Together, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
As we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. V'al kulam Elohas lichot, salach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך.
The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. V'al kulam Elohas lichot, salach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. page 98. Hear our call, Adonai, our God. Show us compassion. Accept our prayer with love and goodwill. Take us back, Adonai. Let us come back to you. Renew our days as in the past. And hear our words, Adonai. Understand our unspoken thoughts. May the speech of our mouth and our heart's quiet prayer be acceptable to you, Adonai, our rock and our Redeemer. Together, do not cast us away from your presence or cut us off from your Holy Spirit. Do not cast us away when we are old, as our strength diminishes. Do not forsake us. Do not forsake us, Adonai. Be not far from us, our God. With hope, Adonai, we await you. Surely you, Adonai, our God, you will answer. We continue on page 105. Continue on page 100. 100, I'm sorry. God of forgiveness, we come before you in need of compassion. At Sinai, you spoke words that guide our lives to this day. But our ancestors lost faith in you, lost hope in their Redeemer. With one voice they had promised, we will do and obey. And yet, stiff-necked, they broke their word, adoring an idol of gold. How wondrous your compassion in the face of their rebellion, your forgiveness in that moment of human weakness and doubt. We too have broken promises to you. We too worship the work of our own hands. We too make of gold a god, and we too forsake your word. At Sinai, you revealed 13 attributes of mercy. These aspects of your nature, your very essence, we now recall.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, Verav Chesed, Notzer chesed la'alafim, Notzer chesed la'alafim.
We continue in 105. In all your ways be aware of God, for there is no sovereign without a people. Ein melech below am. We are the chariot on which God's glory rides, for there is no sovereign without a people. Let the love of God be spread throughout our deeds, for there is no sovereign without a people. You are my servant, Israel. I will be glorified through you, for there is no sovereign without a people. Where is God? Anywhere we let God in, for there is no sovereign without a people. Ein melech below am. Together, eternal God. Your 13 attributes of mercy. They exist in the world through our awareness. They transform the world through our actions. We speak them now as prayer and aspirations. Adonai, Adonai, together, God, compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving and true, showing mercy to the 1000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. We continue. We are insolent, but you are compassionate and gracious. We are stubborn and stiff-necked, but you are slow to anger. We persist in doing wrong, but you are the essence of mercy. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun. Adonai, Adonai, God, compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the 1000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. If I could see God's face within my heart, I'd see the face of a gardener, compassionate to weed and flower alike, patiently pruning, graciously planting, loving the endless hours of tending and nurturing the earth. Seeds, roots, all that grows. And true to the essence of the gardener's work, forgiving the fallen branches, the withered petals, the cracked stones, the broken stems.
Lu echazeh fanav b'libi vayta. If I could see God's face within my heart, I'd see the human face in 1,000 acts of mercy, the one who gives bread to the hungry and shelters the lost, who hears the voice of grief and makes room for the stranger, who brings relief to the blind, the bent, the unjustly imprisoned, and is true to the essence of holy work, defying evil, healing brokenness, easing pain, and in the end, forgiving ourselves as God forgives us.
Together on 111, answer us, you who answered our mother Sarah in her old age, you who answered our father Abraham on Mount Moriah, you who answered their son Isaac when bound upon the altar, you who answered Rebekah when she cried, "Why do I exist?" You who answered Jacob at Bethel, "Israel shall be your name." You who answered Leah in her sadness, you who answered Rachel in her pain, you who answered Joseph in the prison house, you who answered the midwives Shiphrah and Puah in the birthing stones, you who answered Yocheved's courage on the bank of the Nile, you who answered our fathers and our mothers at the Sea of Reeds, you who answered Moses at Sinai, I bore you on eagle's wings, you who answered the daughters of Zelophehad,
who stood up to their rights before Moses and God, you who answered Elijah with a still small voice in the wilderness, you who answered the righteous ones before us,
men and women of integrity and compassion, answer us. Page 112 is Introduction to Avinu Malkeinu. I'd like to call upon Diane and Kenny Epstein, Alex and Jonathan Gadai, Katie and Jonathan Fine, Michelle and Lawrence Epstein, Jake, Joe, and Lauren for the honor of accompanying our curtains as they are open for Avinu Malkeinu. If you'd come forward. We rise. Page 113. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Some of us have cancer. Some have lost strength of body. Some have lost memory and speech. Some of us are in pain. Some can't find work. Some of us bear the marks of human cruelty inside where the scars don't show. Some live with depression. Some battle addiction. Many feel alone. Some have known shattered marriages, trust betrayed, hopes destroyed. Some of us have lost the ones we love far too soon. Some have lost a child. All of us have seen suffering in our midst. All of us know the ravages of war, for which there are no words.
Avinu Malkeinu, why? Avinu Malkeinu, are you there? Do you care? Avinu Malkeinu, hear our pain, hear our anger, hear our grief. Avinu Malkeinu, here is our prayer. Give us the strength to go on. Give us reasons to get up each day. Give us purpose and persistence. Help us to fend off fear and to hold on to hope. Help us to be kind. Don't make us bow or grovel for your favor. Give us dignity and give us courage.
Avinu Malkeinu, show us the way to a year of goodness. Renew our belief that the world can be better. Restore our faith in life. Restore our faith in you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, chamol aleinu, ve'al ol aleinu, v'tapeh
Good yontif, everyone. So it is rare, actually perhaps the first time, that I repeat a sermon that I have shared with you before. But this eve I make an exception by way of special request. My mother. Who can turn down a request from one's mother? So I preface this sermon with some thoughts about transition. This past year has not been an easy one for the Axelrod family. Both my wife Joni and I find that as our parents are entering into their 90s, things have changed drastically. Our mothers in particular have found their world shrinking. Friends that were once a part of daily life passed away. Driving has been abandoned a long time ago. We're the personal Ubers. Weekly contact has become caregivers, doctors, only the closest of relatives. In my mother's situation, we got a hard diagnosis of dementia. There are times when she is in the moment and very much knows who I am and who the members of the family are. She can hold down a conversation and has joy in the moment. Sometimes she's president of Rotary. You got to have a sense of humor. And then there are days like that of confusion, forgetfulness of loved ones, and this is hard to watch and accept. And so a few weeks ago, my younger sister was going through my dad's papers, and she came across a sermon that she thought my mom would enjoy and appreciate. My sister read it to her, and she really was touched by the sermon. And then my sister shared, it wasn't written by my dad, it was written by me a number of years ago. Upon hearing this sermon again, my mom, in a moment of beautiful lucidity, called me up and said, "Sandy, your sister just read me a beautiful sermon. I thought your father wrote it, and it turns out it was you. I just wanted you to know I'm proud of you and how much your words touched me." So how could I not repeat this sermon? Tonight is Yom Hadim, the day of justice. We are called to give an accounting of that vision, of who we are and what we could and should have been. Tradition reminds us that it is not too late to change, to find our own way through life. And the reality is that most of us do change, or at least our perspective changes as we go through life. Years ago, author Gail Shee wrote about the passages we all go through in life. And having been a part of congregational life for so many years, I too feel there are these passages, journeys of growth and perspective that we all go through. I suggest 5 stages, maybe in 20-year increments. The first 20 years we grow up. It is when we learn all the basics of life, to walk and talk, eat, socialize, and absorb an incredible amount of knowledge. But alas, wisdom may still elude us. The second 20 years, you heal from growing up. You reflect upon all the things that happened to you that hurt you and caused you pain. What your parents could have done, should have done, might have done. For all of you in this stage, you got to listen without sounding too harsh. By the time you are 40, you have to get over it. Otherwise, it's very unattractive. You are what you are. You either figured it out, dealt with it, or you've decided to be stuck. So it's time to move on, move forward in life. The third 20 years are focused on our legacy. The choices that we make are building our legacy. We have achieved a measure of success in our careers and raised our families. We become more reflective of who we are and what our lives are all about. We come to terms with what is and what might have been. It is when you come to understand your personal story and who you are. Yes, this particular 20 years, you are absolutely building a legacy because this 20 years you have discovered this is who I am and this is who I am not. And you can proudly pass it on. But the next 20 years are the richest of your life. You've grown up, you've healed, you've built a legacy, you've moved on. And with this wisdom, you now have this wealth of understanding and this knowledge and perspective. You understand what is important and what is not important. It is good. Particularly if you are granted good health. It's good. And then there's this fifth stage, which really isn't a stage at all. It's a state of being that will touch all of us and could come at any time. In the beginning or middle or end, it hovers over all the other stages. Sometime in our lives, mortality slaps us in our face and we wake up. It could happen when we are kids or when we are old, but trust me, it'll happen. You look the angel of death in the eye and you recognize that you will not live forever. And this knowledge can be frightening, but it can also be a gift. When you realize that life is not forever. It helps you temper the arrogance you have of your youth, and it enables you to walk softly with humility on this earth. There's a lot that I have learned over the years from those who are dying, watching how they die, and watching those who mourn them and how they mourn. Bearing witness to this is a gift because you go into what most of us fear and you realize profound blessings in life. There are those who fight against dying, whose diagnosis is terminal. They fight and rage against the dying of the light, as the poem of Dylan Thomas immortalized so beautifully. These people fight their mortality, though they know what is going to happen. And there are a lot of examples that I could give you, but I'm going to give you one that is drawn from the example of my dear friend Sherry. She was told that she was going to die of cancer 50 years ago. And the type of cancer she had, only 3% live 2 years or longer. And she lived 50. And then she survived that cancer. She got breast cancer. And she beat that. And then she got pancreatic cancer. And the cancer spread. But she kept fighting and going, and somehow she kept cheating death. Only once do I recall her deciding to give up, and her physician told her, "Sherry, I will tell you when it's time to give up." And she rallied, till finally she passed away. Hundreds came to her funeral, and the family flew me in to officiate because I had known her since I was a little boy, and she was my mother's best friend. Rarely complaining, she found so many reasons to keep on going. She was a constant source of inspiration to everyone, and literally a living miracle. So what do we learn from the person who struggles to live even in the face of their mortality? We learn that we must fight to live, that life is a struggle, but we must fight against complacency. We must fight against boredom, to not take our lives for granted, to not be bored by the circumstances that you find yourself in, and to not be indifferent to the anguish of other people. What we learn from the person who struggles to the bitter end is that we must struggle to feel life at its fullest, at its greatest blessing. And then there are those who, despite the fact that they are dying, despite the fact that they are in pain, tell anyone who asks, I can't complain. I have been fortunate. I've had a good life. I really have. I have been blessed. The one example that always comes to my mind is my father. To his last breath, he said, "Thank God, I am blessed." It wasn't that he lived in La La Land. It was that he managed to surrender. In fact, my dad's attitude was so unusually good that he became part of a documentary on people. The documentary is called Happy. You can look it up. It's on Amazon. Now, they cut my dad out of it. That was a big mistake. But he was happy to be in it. And we were happy. They came into our household. They filmed me and my sisters and my mom and my dad the last year of his life. Every month they would come in. And they even filmed his funeral. He was one of those people that they filmed because the documentary was about people from all walks of life and all different cultures. They went all around the world trying to find that elusive ingredient of what makes some people happy. From the deserts in Africa to Palo Alto to Timbuktu, they interviewed, they filmed, and it's a great, great documentary. From this we learn that we live our lives, if we're really fortunate, with gratitude. Be grateful for what we have, for the rising of the sun and its setting, the ability to help another's pain, the ability to hug a loved one, enjoy every blessing that you have for life. Life is to be cherished. And then there are those who die completely unreconciled. People have never smiled and fought their entire life with others. They're grouchy and complaining in their lives. Oy. And so, that's the way they are and they're dying. Often these people have a lot to be grateful for, but something has happened to them and they are stuck in anger and unhappiness. God, I remember years ago when I was just starting out, I served a congregation in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And there was a few wealthy families. There's one woman and her husband. They lived in the biggest house of the whole congregation. And I would come to visit, and they'd give me home hospitality, and all that she would do was complain how things were better in New York. She had this great, beautiful home in I hate Kalamazoo. I hate Kalamazoo. I said, how long have you lived here? 15 years. 15 years of kvetching when she was surrounded by what others would consider this glorious living. But all of it pales if your heart is hardened, if your attitude is sour, if you can't count your blessings, and you only count what could have been, should have been, but was taken away. From this we learn we have to heal ourselves now. Whatever wrongs we have had in our lives, let it go. If we haven't managed to heal these last 20 years, then heal now. Let God into your life. For tonight is Yom Kippur, and whatever wrongs have happened over the course of our lives, we say, let it go. If we have not managed to heal ourselves, tonight we say, let it go. If there are stones of resentment we are carrying, we say, let it go. If there is an anger that burns inside us because life treated us unfairly, we say, let it go. Whatever has hurt us so deeply, let us open our hearts and forgive. Forgive. For then there is peace and a tenderness. I know for myself, as I confess on this Yom Kippur, that the day I die, whether it's in 5 minutes from now or 5 years or 30 years from now, the only thing I will regret will be the times that I was unkind. So please, let it go. Figure it out. We think of those who have died suddenly. We can think of those famous people, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Princess Diana, all who will remain forever young in our minds because they died too young. As a rabbi, I've had a window to see many who have died too young. They're not famous, but they live forever young in the families that loved them. The young ones who died of AIDS, of overdose from drugs, alcohol, car accident from a drunken driver, of a baby who died of SIDS. I've seen much over these years. Lives cut tragically short, and from them we learn that life is fragile and temporary and sacred and beautiful. But I pause for a moment, for what I am talking about could be perceived as sad. And you might think that this sermon is only about death and dying, but if that is the case, then I haven't made myself clear. It is really about living. For the way we approach death says a lot about how we live and approach living. It is about knowing that every day is a gift. It is about healing. It's about forgiveness. It's about opening our hearts and opening our arms to be kind. It is Yom Kippur, and in 5 days, it's going to be Sukkot. There will be a full moon outside, and we will be worshiping outside in the sukkah. And if we are lucky to be granted good weather, we will look up into the sky and see that the moon is filled with light. And do you know how the moon gets its light? I'm sure you do. Not from its own source, but from the reflection of another source. The beauty of the moon is from the light that is reflected from another source of light. And the beauty of each one of us here is a reflection of a light in us that is greater than anything we can imagine. And as I look out and I look at each and every one here, there is beauty that fills my eyes. I look upon your faces on this Kol Nidre, and I see beauty, and I see light, and I see possibility. Because I see the reflection that you carry from every single person that you have known and who has known you. From the love of a parent, to the love of a spouse, to the love of a child, to the love of a stranger who looks inside your eyes when you are kind to them. And we reflect love off of one another. So, this is not a sermon about death and dying. This is a sermon about living, living with hope in our hearts, living in the midst of a journey when we realize the fragility of life, and realizing the power, the absolute power of healing through the power of forgiveness, and the power of kindness, and the power of reflective light, and the power of life itself. As I reread this sermon from years ago, it hit me in a new way. I realized that no matter what our stage of life, we should also look for those simple moments of profound lucidity. We don't stop to let them happen often enough. To let our children know how proud we are. Not just for their grades or their accomplishments, but for who they are as people. Nor do we take time to tell our parents how much we love them. With Mom's diagnosis of dementia, each day has become both a blessing and a curse. So I choose to look for the blessing. Simple moments of lucidity, when all that is important is for me to be able to say, Mom, I love you too. And know that she knows it. That's all I ask. That, dear God, is all that I ask.
525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments, oh dear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strife, in 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life?
Our concluding prayers begin on page 116. Call upon Candace and Bernie Human, Christy Molaski, Jackie and Larry Rosen for the honor of accompanying the art curtains as they are open for Aleinu. We continue on page 122 with the Kaddish. We think of those who have died in recent days: Charlie Sipes, Lonnie Poindexter, Greg Feynman, Julia Graber, Miriam Closty, Rose DeAndrea, Esther Leviton Anderson, Francine Farrer, and Harold Lilly. We think of the yortsites of Carol Altman, Barry Bard, Sally Beraldi, Alan Bernay, Lawrence Birch, Morris Bloom, Naomi Dolly, Denise DeArklin, Adele Edelman, Charlie Etkoff, Donald Feldman, Sam Fine, Jerry Friedman, Mac Friedman, Martin Gelb, Charles Kogel, Jerome Gollard, Murray Gordon, George Hassholder, Ruth Cranston, Donald Lane, Philip Levy, Pat Lionel, Hetty Manger, David Mazur, Jack Nitzkin, Davis Ostrov, Gloria Reed, Jan Reisner, Samuel Reeson, Marianne Rosen Krasner, Helen Rosenblum, Adelaide Sachs, Irving Schiffman, Manny Schwartz, Doris Shapiro, Barbara Schulman, Philip Stein, Gertrude Steiner, Miriam Watson. If you would like to recall the name of someone who was not mentioned for Kaddish or Yortzeit, please stand and say their name. think of all these and others, we rise to recite our Kaddish prayer. Yit Gadol v'Yikadash Shemei Rabbah v'Yalma Divrach Hirutei v'Yamlich Malchutei v'Chayechom v'Yomechom v'Chayei L'chol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala v'Zman Kari v'Yimru Amen Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Omeil Maya Yit Barach v'Yishtabach v'Yit Pa'ar v'Yit Ramam v'Yit Naseh v'Yit Adar v'Yit Taleh v'Yit Talal Shemei Dekusha B'Richu Leila Uleila Mikol Birchata v'Shirata Tush Berchata v'Nechemata, Damiram B'Yalma v'Yomru Amen. Yeshlam Araba min Shammai v'Chaim, Aleinu v'Yal Kol Yisrael v'Yomru Amen. Osei Shalom b'Mramav, Hu Yasei Shalom, Aleinu v'Yal Kol Yisrael, v'Yal Kol Yoshvei Tevel v'Yomru Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn. May we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved among us. We say Amen. May be seated. I want to extend a special sense of gratitude to those who are watching us via our web stream. This year, as any indication from past years, we usually end up with about 600 views over the high holidays. So it's not just the people who are here, it's the people who are here virtually, and we appreciate their support as well. We'd like to call upon our temple president, Don. Please.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'm pleased to introduce our Bema guests this evening, our past presidents, Stuart Blumenfeld, Marla Letitia, Drew Levy, Senator Jackie Rosen, Scott Stolberg, Mindy Unger-Watkins, along with Jerry Gordon, who's in the audience, and Del Acosta, our board trustee. On behalf of the Temple family. Oh, Justice Jerry. Excuse me. Somebody edited my script. On behalf of the Temple family, thank you for your service to our temple. I would also like to thank Rabbi Axelrod and Cantor Hutchins for leading tonight's service and the inspirational message. Ricky Reinhardt, our choir director, and the CNT Adult Choir, and Andy Smith, our cellist. Thank you all for sharing your musical talents and making our service truly special. I'd also like to thank Deanne Emmer and Stephen Rowland for sponsoring the cellist tonight. And of course, a special thank you to Alex Hill and Trevor Ensign for tonight's sound quality, our sisterhood, ushers, greeters, and all of our volunteers, and our temple staff who work tirelessly over the high holidays. Please refer to your tickets for schedule of tomorrow's services. Of special note, religious school program check-in begins at 9:30 a.m. in the library for grades K through 5th grade. The Yom Kippur traditional service will be back here at 10 a.m. And immediately after our morning service concludes, you're invited to join us in the Beit Tefillah to learn how you can get more involved in our temple. And we hope people will stay around as we need everybody's participation. You'll be able to learn about some congressional engagement opportunities, Family Promise, Nevadans for the Common Good, and our Friendly Visitors Program. Also at 1:10 p.m., you can enjoy the movie Blessed is the Match, also in the Beit Tefillah. At 2:30, we will be unveiling our memorial plaques outside in our newly renovated memorial garden, thanks to the generous donation of King David Palm Mortuary. This will be a reflective time to show our respect towards the loved ones we've lost. Every month we have exciting events and programs, so make sure to read your newsletters and weekly emails for more information. On that note, you won't want to miss the Erev Sukkot services on Sunday, October 13th at 6:30 in the Sukkah. On Tuesday the 15th, following Hebrew school, please join us for the Erev Sukkot potluck dinner at 6 p.m., also in the Sukkah. You can RSVP on the link available on Facebook or the e-blast and sign up with your favorite dish. I'm bringing kugel. Tuesday, October 22nd at 6 p.m., we will have a Simchat Torah service and program with our favorite band, the Shabbaton. So come and celebrate with us. And I wanted to mention two upcoming fundraisers, our Tikkun Olam Luncheon on January 26th, honoring Jan Jones Laverty, and also our gala on May the 2nd. and we'll have more news about that. And Judge, I'll bring you some extra kugel on the if you join us for dinner. May you all have a meaningful fast and good Yontif.
(126) is our final song, Adon Olam. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Shana Tova, everyone. Gamar Chatima Tova.